welcome to Amazons at All on Trust TV with me, Aisha Umar Yusuf. Our guest today is a thoroughbred professional. She's a veteran civil servant who has worked both in her home state and at the federal level. She started out as a school teacher and administrator, but she rose through the ranks in various ministries and left indelible footprints both in her home state and at the federal level. I'm sure you'd want to know who she is. So remain with us after this short break and get to meet her. Yeah, welcome to Amazons at All, Hajiya Rabi Ali Galadima. We're pleased to have you here.
Thank you.
You have a very impressive list of educational and career achievements. Can you tell us about your early life?
I was born in Kano in the year 1956, October. I grew up in Fage local government now. I attended initially Kuka Primary School. Okay. But unfortunately, my father's grandmother was a learned and a Quranic woman. Okay. She was writing Holy Quran with her own hand. She refused me to go to Western education.
I see.
And fortunately for me, my father was a headmaster.
Wow, that's nice.
So she insisted that I should not go to Western school. So one day my daddy came and took me away from her because my mother was not with my father.
I see.
So I had to stay 2 years behind. That was why most of my classmates went forward and I was backward. After being withdrawn from Kuka Primary School, 2 years later I was taken to Fage Primary School, 1964 to 1968. By middle of 1969, examination was conducted. Few of us were selected to go to boarding primary school. Okay. That was Shekara Girls Boarding Primary School. Then,
is it where it was just opened?
No, it wasn't open. I think it was the 4th year by the time I was taken to Shekara.
I see.
When I was taken there, I wasn't used to boarding home. I would be crying, coming to the gate, what have you. But after some time, we have new friends, you know, our teachers were mostly English and Americans, Canadians.
I see.
So there was that love, care, and compassion.
Yes.
After finishing Shekara Girls Boarding Primary School, I conducted a common entrance examination. I moved to Government Girls Secondary School, Dala.
I see.
January 1972.
I see.
That was the only time our class set completed secondary school in 4.5 years.
I see.
There we were all small, but at least those of us that had good experience of boarding, we were so joyful.
Yes.
We don't cry. We mingle around with our friends. But those that were brought just from primary school or from other states were crying, saying they have to be taken back home, always going to the gate. The megas will be pursuing them, the matrons will be pursuing them. But after a year or two, they overcome it, and we are all happy.
They settle down.
That time, we don't know any difference of religion, tribe, or whatever. We were just like sisters.
I see.
So after Government Girls Secondary School, I had a preliminary exam. I moved to CAS. I spent 2 years in CAS, that is preliminary course. Then when we finished, we moved to Bayero University, Kano.
So it was that smooth sailing, no opposition again, not from your grandmother, nobody saying Rabi is ripe for marriage?
No.
I see.
When my father took me away, there was nothing she could do.
Okay.
Because then my father was an orphan. She was pampering him. She doesn't want to offend him.
Yes.
So she followed what he wanted.
I see. So earlier on you were living with her?
Yeah.
I see. I thought it was because she's your I didn't know you were living with her as in she was your caretaker.
She was my daddy's grandmother.
I see. So it was smooth sailing going to university, no problem with that?
No, not at all.
You know, hear stories of some people who have to really struggle to get that because the parents are opposed to it or they think marriage comes first. At what point did marriage come along?
I got married when I was 21. And the most fortunate thing about my late father, may his soul rest in peace, is that he loves education.
MashaAllah.
And I can assure you, I can say it boldly with my shoulders up. Anybody born in Fage for the last 50, 52 years, 53 years old, if you're born in Fage, whether Fage A, B, C, or D, was my father that was enrolling children in that area to primary schools.
Wow, what a legacy.
And when they finished primary school, he was the one that will moved to make them further their studies. In fact, there was a time one of the commissioners for education in Kano was asking me, Rabi, how many wives and how many tribes did your father marry? I say, my father only married Hausas and 3 women from Niger Republic.
Yes.
He never married a Yoruba or Igbo. That was his interest, to make sure children go to school.
Yes. That's good. So you ended up at a class teacher as well, maybe inspired by what he did. Was that the reason you became a class teacher as your first job?
That was his wish.
Yes.
He said, as a teacher, I should remain a teacher.
I see.
And fortunately, those in education, those that attended school with my father, they were calling him senior brother and whatever, were advising me as well. Follow suit. This is what the interest of your father.
I see.
So I could remember vividly. May the soul of Buddha Abdullahi rest in peace.
Amen.
He called me at one time. That was 3 months after my NYSC in Capital School, Kano. Yes. I started teaching in Shekara, boarding secondary school then.
Yes.
He called me, said, Rabi, there's a big challenge here in Kano. I will advise you and direct you to allow us post you as principal to any of the girls' secondary schools in Kano. There's a big challenge. I said, what is the big challenge, my brother? He said, look at Jogana, look at Gezawa, look at Kura, all schools around, even Shekara, Dala, WTC Kano. He said, all non-indigenous are the ones heading the schools.
I see.
So I'm advising, let our people continue to take care of their state schools.
Exactly.
So when he told me, I went and told my father. My father said, their wish is my command. Whatever Jafar Koguna will tell you, or Buddha Abdullahi, you have to abide by it.
I see, that's good.
So after 3-4 days, Buddha Abdullahi called me, said, Rabi, we are going to post you to Cabo Government Girls Secondary School.
Yes.
And you'll be a principal there.
Okay.
I went to my friend, Mrs. Saada Turimi, may her soul rest in peace, who was the governor's wife then.
Yes.
I said, they say they want to post me to Kabo. I don't know any village in Kano. The only village I knew was Bichi.
Yes.
And that was where my father was doing his grade 3 course.
Yes.
She said, take it.
Okay.
It's an advantage. Yes. So I came to Fage. I told my father, he said, you have to go.
Yes.
I don't know the area. He said, I will drive you today. Today is Wednesday.
Yes.
And there's marketplace in Rimangado. So I will take you. So immediately we came to Rimangado. I gasped a goat with my car, all my headlights broken. And by the time we turned to the junction of Cabo, we entered, it was not tarred.
Yes.
So I started crying from my car.
You were discouraged.
12 kilometers from the junction to the school where I'm going to head.
Yes.
Immediately we went to the gate. He said, Rabi, this is Government Girls Secondary School, Cabo.
Yes.
This is where you are going to head. I said, okay, Alhaji. He just reversed his car. I followed him. But I was crying.
But so, I'm sure you enjoyed it in the end.
I enjoyed it because I was not used to village. Unfortunately for me, Alhaji Adamu Dankabo, may his soul rest in peace, was my late father's close friend.
Yes.
So they told him that I came, but I'm not happy, that I said they should transfer me, blah, blah. So one afternoon like this, he drove directly behind my office. They said they should go to my office and call me. I came, I knelt down, I greeted him. He said, Erbunni, you don't like village? I kept quiet. He said, I will make road from the junction of Kanyi to behind this your office.
I see.
So after a few days, contractors came, they started making the road. And so I was queried in Ministry of Education after a few days that why did I allow another opposition party to come to my school and be constructing road?
Yes.
So I was called
Kabo was in NPN.
Yeah.
And the government was
PRP. And the
PRP.
ruling was PRP.
Yes.
So I was called to the ministry to come and defend myself. I went, I say, I didn't know. I was thinking it was the Ministry of Education that gave directive for the man to come and construct the road. That is how I built out myself.
Yes, yes.
But he did everything humanly possible for me to be happy in Kabo. He was
very
maintaining my school bus, my school lorry, my tanker. He was taking care of the school clinic.
Oh, that's nice.
And he said anything that we cannot handle in the school, we should take children to Equa Clinic. And every month there was a stipend allowance.
Yes.
He was given to my vice principal.
Yeah, that was very
So
good.
I really enjoyed Kabo. It was really nice.
So how was your transition from teacher and principal to a desk job at the ministry? Was it easy to adjust?
It was easy.
Really?
I think anything anyone has interest.
Yes.
Anywhere you find yourself, you learn.
Which was the first ministry after they took you out of the classroom?
I went to the head office of Ministry of Education.
Okay, I see.
Idam Murtala, in charge of guidance and counseling.
Yes, I see. You talked about heading a government project that was targeted at women during the Ahmed Dako administration in Kano. You were supposed to have put the advancement of women forward even before the Better Life program of Mrs. Mariam Babangida. I want to know how successful was that project?
Yeah, the name of the organization was Women and Development.
Okay.
And it was the only government-owned NGO that is handling the issues of women and children.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, the composition of members we had in the committee was so fantastic because all those that were members of the committee are really highly placed, well exposed, and have the feeling and good feeling of women and children.
Okay.
I could remember vividly, may her soul rest in peace, Bilkisu of Triumph, Bilkisu Yusuf was a board member.
Yes.
Hajiya Rabi Ishaq was a member as well. So we did our very best to make sure we advance the development of women in Kano State and children.
Oh, that's good. You have worked with both military and civilian administrations. Which of them is better to work with? I mean, which is more effective in addressing the needs of the people?
Frankly speaking, military government is so strong and powerful, and really people are afraid of military regime.
Yes.
So whatever is put in order, you have to abide by it.
I see.
That is the difference between civilian government and military government. Everybody has to sit up and do the needs of the government of the day.
Okay. So that discipline, I think, is what makes it more effective.
Yeah.
I see. So Nigerians always, but you know, our people, they always complain about the problem of wrongdoings of civil servants. That is how they delay things and sometimes demand bribes and stuff like that. As somebody who has been in the civil service for so long, do you think these complaints are justified?
Yes, they are justified because anywhere you have group of people, there are different characters, different upbringing, and the way people will handle issues.
Yes.
So some are good, not that everybody is corrupt or bad. There are good people in the civil service. But nonetheless, anywhere there are bad eggs.
It's true.
But wherever you find yourself, I think if you are a true believer, you put in your very best to the responsibility given to you.
Exactly.
Because you are here today, tomorrow you'll be in your grave.
It's true.
And whatever you do is what you sow.
Okay, it's true. So what do you think government can do to eradicate corruption in the workforce? It's still, I mean, we attribute most of our country's problem to corruption. And so many governments, like now that we are in the political regime, so many governments pay lip service to eradicating corruption. But as somebody who has been around with these military and civilian regimes, how do you think we can stamp out corruption?
I think if government wants to eradicate or minimize corruption, the welfare of staff is very, very important. If officers are being catered for, their welfare is looking upon, anything that is supposed to be catering their welfare, their family, I'm sure things will improve for better. But as long as people are working, their salaries are not paid when due, you know, when you ask for that advancement from the ministry or wherever you work, you cannot get it. You ask from the bank, you cannot get it. Because if you want to get something from the bank, you have to declare something.
It's true.
But if really the welfare of civil servants will be improved, I'm sure corruption will reduce.
Okay. We are going on a short break now. We'll soon be back with Hajiya Rabi Ali Galadima and more of her life story. You're welcome back to Amazons at All. We are still with Hajiya Rabi Ali Galadima and we are continuing. So do you think having a workforce with more women can make a difference? There are people who say that sometimes women are more trustworthy in some establishments.
Definitely.
Okay.
If we have more women in the workforce, things will improve for better.
I see.
Because whatever a woman will take, she will do it from the bottom of her heart with all sense of dedication.
I see.
That one I know.
Okay. Which means maybe you agree with the women, political women, or rather women in politics, who say that they need a 35% affirmative action in order for women to be effective in governance. Do you agree with them?
I agree with it.
Okay.
Because since the time we went to China,
yes,
at the time we begged for that, we have been pursuing, we have been begging, we have been lobbying for that percentage to be to women folk.
Okay.
And I'm sure if it will be done, things will improve for better.
Okay.
Women
but do you really think having more women there would necessarily impact positively on other? I mean, how well do you think having more women in the workforce will now impact on ordinary women, the woman on the street, the one selling grocery, stuff like that? Will it really make a difference to the life of ordinary women?
It will definitely make,
okay,
because a woman always has compassion for her other women.
Okay.
That is naturally in us.
Yes.
Whenever a woman finds herself in any position, she will uplift the livelihood of our women folk. She will definitely do, because I worked in women affairs.
Yes.
And I know how we have been battling, how we have been assisting from the village to the city to the federal capital and wherever.
I see. Okay.
So to encourage women, I'm sure it will be for betterment of women, men, and children.
I see. So both at the state and federal levels, where you have worked in ministries and parastatals, you have had quite a range of experience. What did you find most challenging in all the assignments you've had so far? Does one really stick out as the one that gave you maybe sleepless nights and very busy days, something like that?
The ministry that I worked and feel that something better should be done to the ministry is Ministry of Women Affairs.
I see.
That is where you have all sorts of issues, physically challenged, women, children, and the little amount being sent to the ministry, many at times you cannot even handle one department responsibility.
With the money.
Because like where I headed, issues of children is so enormous and so compassionate. If you are a true mother, a sister, you find yourself in any of the departments in Ministry of Women Affairs, you will really be touched.
Well, why is it? Is there this concern about funding for the ministry? I remember when we talked with the former Minister of Women Affairs, she was also talking about being given like a quarter of the budget she requires, and that prevented her from doing much, achieving much of the capital projects she wanted to achieve. Why do you think there is that bias against funding Women Affairs Ministry?
I don't know. We have been begging, we have been pursuing, we have been lobbying for the budget to be increased because of the enormous responsibilities of this category of people.
Yes.
But up to now, the
up to
story
now,
is the
long
same.
after you have left?
Yeah. Sure.
Wow. That's serious. So I don't know, does that mean governments are actually just paying lip service to this issue of empowering women and stuff? I mean, if the ministry is being starved of funds, it shows that there is some kind of insincerity on the part of government in doing something that's worthwhile for women.
The last time I spoke with the Minister for Women Affairs, Mrs. Starling, she told me that she's been lobbying, she has been pushing, and there's a little improvement now in terms of finances, because the present government now realize the importance of the ministry and the heavy burden upon the ministry because of the responsibilities of all these category of classes that I have told you.
Yes.
Come to think of even physically challenged department.
I see.
You have deaf, you have dumb, you have those without leg, and all their problems lie in the ministry.
It's true.
And if they come with their problems, you couldn't assist or you couldn't do what is expected of the government to do, it means it's a washout.
It's true.
But I'm sure things are coming up, and I'm sure government will realize the importance of all this category of people. I'm sure they will do something because people are crying.
I see. So in all the places you have worked, what do you think you'd like to look back on as your legacy? Something you achieved that you are really happy and proud of, and you would want, maybe even when you are here or not, somebody will say that was only possible because of Hajiya Rabi Ali Galadima.
I worked in 7 ministries.
I see.
I worked in agric, I worked in finance, I worked in health, I worked in sports commission, I worked in education, I worked in women affairs, and lastly I retired in Federal Ministry of Transportation.
I see.
But among all these 7, Ministry of Health and Federal Ministry of Women Affairs are the ministries that I know I did my very best to make sure that I assisted the vulnerable groups.
Thank you.
In terms of budget, when I was in Federal Ministry of Health, I know we did our very best to make sure that there's enough money for the teaching hospital, federal medical centers, psychiatric hospitals, and the orthopedics.
MashaAllah.
We did a lot.
Thank you.
The upgrading of the teaching hospitals during Obasanjo's regime, I could remember there was that Vermit company that upgraded the teaching hospitals. Lagos, Ibadan, Maiduguri, Kano, I think 5. Okay. They were really upgraded, and equipments were brought, and professionals were brought from Australia to teach our people how to maintain the machineries, maintain them, teach our people how to handle them when they go back to their countries. Yes, yes. I think we did our very best that time, and I'm happy for doing what I did.
That's a great legacy. Let's talk about your children. How many are there and what are they into?
I have 3 children.
Yes.
The first one, Bara'atu, is a barista. She's working with the National Primary Healthcare here in Abuja.
Yes.
The second born, Muhammad Sirajo, is an architect. He's into building houses and estates.
Inshallah.
My last card is a military officer.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice. So grandchildren?
I have 7 grandchildren.
Oh, that's nice.
Bara'atu has 3 children, yes. Muhammad, Ibrahim, and Rabia.
Okay.
Surajo has 4 children. He has Rabia, my late father's namesake, Aliyu, yes. Yasmin, which is her real name is Hawa'u, and Ahmad the last card.
Okay.
I have 7 grandchildren.
Oh, that's nice. So in the decades you have lived and worked, what's the main thing that you want to see being done now that's no longer done, either in a social life or in the workplace, something that you think is missing today that would be better off having it again or something like that?
I think as a teacher, I'm just looking backwards to see how we grow up, the discipline in the society.
Yes.
Even your father's neighbor can stand up as your father, as your guardian, tends to correct any child in an area is no longer.
A communal living,
yeah.
Communal spirit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we should go back to the former culture of respect for elders, respect for seniority, respect for leadership.
That's good. Do you have any plans to join politics?
Not at all.
Not at all.
So I think, if I tell you my history, my father was brought up by Abadan Mekwaru, who was the founding father of NEPO.
I see.
But I never have any interest in politics.
I see. So what is your advice for young women?
For
young women, young Nigerian women?
For young Nigerian women is for them to be honest, to be religious, to be dedicated, and to bring up their younger ones properly so that we will have good children, grandchildren, and good members of the society. what was inculcated in us should be brought back. Yes. Women should look after their responsibilities. Be honest, be sincere, be religious to whatever they are going to do in their homes, in their community, and in their society. Okay. If we really turn to the former culture of moral upbringing, honesty, dedication, I'm sure women will be happy, because we will all be happy when we produce good children and grandchildren in the society. Okay. Because in the nearest future is those children that you bring up that will turn out to be leaders. So we want our leaders to be good, but we cannot have good leaders if there is no good moral upbringing, religious upbringing, and good moral being placed on the children when they are small up to the time they grow up. It's true.
Thank you very much, Hajiya Rabi. It was
a pleasure having you. Aisha. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks very much for being with us. I'm sure you had a nice time listening to our guest, Hajiya Rabi Ali Galadima, and her life story. We hope you join us again next week and meet another Amazon. Until then, it's bye-bye from me.